The Don Tony and Kevin Castle show contains explicit language and is intended for mature audiences only. But just because you're mature doesn't mean you can't be a little naughty.
Now, as far as Ring of Honor going to Destination America. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole song and dance. I'm just going to give you the 30-second details as far as what's going down. Starting this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Destination America, you will now get Ring of Honor. At 9 p.m., you will also get TNA Impact, also on Destination America. It is still set in stone that TNA will no longer be on Destination America as of September. That can always change if they start getting some momentum in the ratings. I actually have a copy, which I'm sure a lot of you have read by now, of the actual email that Dave Meltzer received a copy of, where Destination America said they were dropping TNA. Remember, last week Dixie Carter and TNA was threatening legal action because there was inaccuracies being put online. I will read the email that Dave Meltzer got, which basically started all of this. However, as far as my thoughts of Ring of Honor going on Destination America, what does that mean for TNA? What does that mean for Lucha Underground? You know, the competition, because Wednesdays now you have NXT, Lucha Underground, Impact, and Ring of Honor. If you want my thoughts, Wednesdays, Breakfast with Blassie. I got into it for about 40 to 45 minutes, and I covered every possible aspect of my thoughts on it. And honestly, it's not fair for me to reiterate all that shit again, especially when my co-host hasn't said nothing about it. So basically tonight is going to be Kev's thoughts more than anything. But before Kev gets into it, this is the memo that Dave Meltzer received. It's one tiny paragraph. And this is what it says. This is from Destination America. And I quote, Destination America is not renewing TNA Wrestling next year. While the ratings were strong, the audience was not large enough to justify the program investment. We plan to honor the current contract and continue to air original episodes of TNA Wrestling on Friday nights through the end of the third quarter 2015. That's September. When the upfront rate card is released, the Friday night anthology title will now be called American Tales, which will be a combination of paranormal and Americana programming. I hope this is a good news given to all of the advertisers that included TNA on their DNA list. Now, what does the DNA list mean? There is a shitload of advertisers on Discovery and on Destination America that have TNA on their DNA list. And DNA means do not advertise. So when all you people ripped us about how advertisers didn't want to advertise on the fucking during Impact, and when the ratings were in the shitter, you know, DVR, blah, 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 blah. Now you heard it from a cable company. So when you tell us ratings don't count and advertise, you got it firsthand. So I'd like to give the floor to Kev and let Kev just talk however he feels about Ring of Honor. Is it going to generate rating? What your thoughts on everything that's going down? I mean, talk about just like, I don't know. I mean, it's. I think it's fucking wild that they would put another. It's almost, you know what I compare it to, Kev? I compare it to a guy that's living with his girlfriend. And he turns around and he tells his girlfriend, he said, look, it's over. I don't want to be around you anymore. You know, I'm going to give you 2-3 fucking weeks. Get the fuck out of my house. Get the fuck out of my house. And before she even has a chance to go find another place, I bring the other girlfriend in, my new girlfriend in, you know? And she's got to sit.
I actually did that.
Yeah, well, it might have happened to me.
Didn't work out, though. I lost both. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess, you know, maybe somebody sold him a bag of goods on, you know, to take a risk with another wrestling program, that this was going to be a hotter thing. That, in other words, Ring of Honor is up and coming and TNA is out and going, even though Ring of Honor is around as long, if not longer, than TNA. I think someone just sold him a bill of goods, you know. I think it's just someone's went in there and sold the network to make this move, do this and change this. I think that's what it was. I mean, that's usually what it is. And is it a smart move? I don't know. I mean, there's no, you know, the whole attraction, I think, about getting a show, just like with Jeff Jarrett's Global Force, and I see some of the people who just signed Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Oh,
But yeah, just signed 61-year-old Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like a super group to a label, like, oh, check, Steve, like people know who this is, like Steve Vai's in the band. Oh, well, it's probably going to sell. People love him. You got to have like a lore, a hook, a gimmick, so to speak. And I don't, Ring of Honor, I mean, who in that company is a draw? Who in that is there a, we took, WWE took everybody. I mean, they don't have a Finn Balor. They don't have a Daniel Bryan. They don't have anybody. Anybody they had that was worth really a lot, WWE took them. I don't know. I think they just are taking a risk, but somebody sold them on it. Obviously, they came to this conclusion. I don't know how, but TNA, we've been talking about this. It's a dying swan. It's been that way. Just such a sinking ship. It really is, and everybody's abandoning it. I mean, it just seems to me that the only guys who are hanging in there are Magnus, Bobby Roode, Bobby Lashley, MVP, and a couple other guys that you can name, but not really worth anything. I mean, even Samoa Joe, like I said, finally came to his senses. I just don't know. I mean, everything is opinion. There's nothing that could be said that anybody's going to be pinpoint accurate about. It could be a complete disaster, or going to go with it. I mean, are they going to go with it, Don Tony, for 6 months and then declare, we just don't want wrestling in general anymore?
Well, it's funny you say that, because Ring of Honor's deal is for 6 months.
Is it for 6 months?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
It's till the end of the year.
I just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. 6 months from now, or beginning of next year, we could be saying, well, Destination America gave up on wrestling. There's got to be some sort of attraction there for them to even take the chance. Or maybe they just got a friend in the company, and they just did some smooth talking and got something worked out.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to prove a lot. That's a short window to prove a lot, don't you think, Don Tony? A 6-month contract?
I look at it like this. Ring of Honor has a much lower overhead than TNA.
They do. They do have a lower overhead, but do they really have a bigger fan base than TNA worldwide?
Well, you know what? We'll now find out. They obviously don't.
There's always been that argument, by the way, who's actually bigger in the underground or whatever you want to call it, because obviously in the mainstream neither is.
Well, Kev,
in other words, on the streets, who's a bigger deal? That's a good. It was funny. You've got TNA to WWE, which is a joke. Like I said, it's like the Long Island Ducks to the Yankees. Come on, let's be serious. The real competition would be between TNA and Ring of Honor.
See,
so now
TNA,
that's even keel as far as I'm concerned. Now it's going to tell the tale of who is the better company.
Well, TNA by far is gigantic compared to Ring of Honor.
Are they really, though?
Yeah,
but not. I mean, Panda Energy. Well, the money aspect, yeah, but not really. I don't know about that.
Well, let's put it this way.
But you have to admit it's much more of a fair comparison, the two of them, than trying to mess with the big WWE.
Well, let's put it this way, okay? Without TV, let me put it this way: TNA without TV hurts more for TNA than it hurts Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor has never done tremendous buy rates. Ring of Honor has never done tremendous attendance figures on a regular basis.
Well, Ring of Honor is more word of mouth and social media.
And repeatedly over the last 10+ years. To me, Ring of Honor is an off-Broadway play. And that is not a criticism. That is a compliment.
Keep talking,
not everybody can be a major player. And to me, Ring of Honor is an off-Broadway play with stars that just won't cut it mainstream.